This is Fleet Admiral James Okonkwo. If you are hearing this recording, I am dead. So is everyone who served under my command. But we took them with us. This is Case File 871. This is my testimony. The story of the dying fleet, recorded in my final hour, while I can still speak. I want the galaxy to understand what happened here, what we did, why we did it, and why you should never, ever give a human time to die. The Vorrathi Confederation invited us to negotiate peace. 3 years of border skirmishes, hundreds of casualties on both sides. They wanted to end it. We wanted to believe them. I brought the Fifth Fleet to the neutral meeting point. 60 warships, 30,000 sailors. A show of force, but also a gesture of good faith. The Vorrathi brought 800 warships. I should have known then. The numbers were wrong. But I wanted peace. My crews wanted peace. We had been fighting for 3 years. We wanted to believe. The negotiations took place aboard the Vorrathi flagship. I attended personally with my senior staff. We discussed territorial boundaries, trade agreements, prisoner exchanges. Everything seemed genuine. At 1700 hours, they served refreshments, a gesture of hospitality. We drank their strange alien tea and pretended it tasted good. At 1715, I began to feel dizzy. At 1730, I was on the deck, convulsing. At 1745, the Vorrathi commander stood over me and explained what was happening. Keth 7. A biological weapon specifically engineered for human physiology. It had been in the tea, in the air, in everything we had touched for the past hour. 100% infection rate, 100% fatality rate, 6 hours from exposure to death. There was no cure. The Vorrathi had spent decades developing this weapon. They had tested it on captured humans. They knew exactly what it would do. Every human in the Fifth Fleet was already dead. We just did not know it yet. The Vorrathi commander smiled as he told me this. "You have 6 hours, Admiral. Use them to make peace with whatever gods you worship. We will wait." His fleet surrounded ours. 800 ships encircling 60. Not firing, just waiting. Why waste ammunition on the dying? They returned me to my flagship. They thought I would spend my final hours in despair, that my fleet would collapse into panic and grief. They did not understand humans. The medical teams confirmed the diagnosis within minutes of my return. Keth 7. 100% infection across all 60 ships. 30,000 people, all of them dead within 6 hours. My chief medical officer, Dr. Sarah Chen, delivered the news with tears streaming down her face. "Admiral, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. The virus is already replicating in our cells. In approximately 5 hours and 43 minutes, complete systemic failure will begin. There is no treatment, no cure, no hope." I listened to her report. I looked at the faces of my bridge crew, young men and women who had expected to live long lives, now realizing they had less than 6 hours remaining. I watched them begin to cry, to pray, to contact loved ones for final goodbyes. Then I stopped it. Enough. My voice cut through the grief. Every eye turned to me. We are going to die. All of us. Nothing can change that. In 6 hours, we will be gone. I looked at the tactical display. 800 Vorrathi ships, 60 of ours. But the Vorrathi are not dying. They are sitting out there, waiting, expecting us to spend our final hours in tears and terror. I smiled. I remember surprising myself with that smile. I say we give them something else to think about. Captain Rodriguez, my flag captain, understood immediately. You want to attack. I want to kill every single one of them. They murdered 30,000 human beings with a biological weapon delivered during peace negotiations. They violated every law of civilized warfare. They poisoned us like rats. I felt the anger rising, the beautiful, clarifying anger that pushes away fear. We have 6 hours. In 6 hours, we are dead, regardless of what we do. We can spend those hours crying, or we can spend them making the Vorrathi pay. I looked at my crew. Normally, in combat, we fight to survive. We calculate risks. We preserve our forces. We retreat when necessary to fight another day. I gestured at the medical display showing our death sentence. Today, we don't need to survive. We don't need to calculate risks. We don't need to preserve anything. We are already dead. I let that sink in. Do you understand what that means? We can attack without fear. We can take risks no living fleet would take. We can ram their ships, overload our reactors, do anything necessary to kill them. Because we're not losing anything we weren't already going to lose. Lieutenant Park, my weapons officer, began to smile. It was a terrible smile. Admiral, are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying we have 6 hours to kill 800 enemy ships. I'm saying we remove every safety protocol, every damage control consideration, every tactical limitation designed to preserve our lives. I stood. I'm saying we show the Vorrathi what 30,000 humans can do when they have nothing left to lose. The Fifth Fleet transformed in that moment. Fear disappeared. When you are already dead, there is nothing left to fear. Hesitation disappeared. When survival is impossible, every second matters. Mercy disappeared. They had given us none. We would return the favor. I broadcast my orders to all 60 ships. All vessels, this is Admiral Okonkwo. We have been infected with a fatal bioweapon. There is no cure. Every one of us will be dead in 6 hours. Pause. The Vorrathi are waiting for us to die quietly. They expect tears and despair. They expect us to use our final hours saying goodbye to loved ones. I hardened my voice. We will say goodbye to loved ones after we complete our mission. Our mission is the complete destruction of the Vorrathi fleet. Every ship, every crew member, everyone who was part of this atrocity. I gave the tactical orders. Remove all safety limiters. Authorize reactor overload on my command. All weapons free. Ramming is authorized. There are no rules of engagement. There is only killing. Final pause. We are already dead. Let's make sure we don't die alone. All ships, attack. 60 human warships accelerated directly at 800 Vorrathi vessels. The Vorrathi commander clearly expected us to surrender, or to flee, or to simply drift until we died. He did not expect 60 doomed ships to charge his fleet at maximum acceleration, weapons firing continuously, heading directly for his formation with no apparent concern for survival. Because there was no concern for survival. In normal combat, a commander considers acceptable losses. 5%, 10%, 20% at the extreme. We considered 100% losses acceptable, because we had already lost everything. We hit their fleet like a hammer. The first hour was chaos. Beautiful, bloody chaos. Human ships dove into Vorrathi formations, firing every weapon they possessed. When weapons failed, they rammed. When ramming wasn't possible, they detonated reactors. The TFS Valiant took out 3 Vorrathi cruisers by flying directly into their formation and overloading her reactor. 30 seconds of fighting, then a miniature sun where 4 ships had been. The TFS Defiance rammed the Vorrathi flagship at full speed. Both ships were destroyed. The Vorrathi fleet lost their commander in the first hour. We lost 12 ships in hour 1. We destroyed 97 of theirs. The Vorrathi tried to regroup. They tried to establish distance, to use their superior numbers, to fight the way sensible beings fight. We did not let them. Hour 2. We had lost 24 ships. They had lost 219. Our ships were falling apart. Damage that would normally be repaired was ignored. Why waste time fixing systems when everyone aboard would be dead in 4 hours anyway? Crews that would normally be assigned to damage control were given weapons and sent to prepare for boarding actions. We stopped caring about anything except killing. Hour 3. Hour 4. The symptoms began to manifest. Keth 7 follows a predictable course. First, dizziness and fatigue, then bleeding from mucous membranes, then organ failure, then death. By hour 4, my crews were visibly dying. Pale faces, blood trickling from noses and eyes, hands shaking too badly to hold weapons steady. They kept fighting. I watched a gunnery team fire their weapons while 2 of them collapsed from organ failure. The survivors dragged the bodies aside and kept shooting. I watched engineers maintain reactor systems while coughing blood onto their consoles. When they could no longer stand, they sat. When they could no longer sit, they lay on the deck and gave instructions to whoever was still mobile. I watched Marines board Vorrathi ships, despite barely being able to walk. They killed until their bodies gave out. Then they activated grenades. The Vorrathi were terrified. They had expected us to die quietly. Instead, we were dying loudly, violently, and taking as many of them with us as humanly possible. Their crews began to panic. They were fighting ghosts, enemies who should be dead, who looked like corpses, who kept coming despite wounds that would have stopped any living being. Because we were not living beings, not anymore. We were the dead, and we had come to collect company. Hour 5. 41 human ships remained. 412 Vorrathi ships remained. The mathematics were shifting. Normal combat would have ended hours ago. One side would have retreated, regrouped, reconsidered. But we could not retreat. We had nowhere to go, nothing to preserve. And the Vorrathi could not retreat without abandoning the victory they had already claimed. So we kept killing. By hour 5, my bridge crew was half dead, not metaphorically. Lieutenant Park had collapsed at his station and stopped breathing. Captain Rodriguez was giving orders through a mask of blood. I was dying, too. I could feel my organs failing. Every breath was agony. I kept giving orders. All ships. Status report. 27 ships remained. 18,000 survivors across the fleet, most of them in the final stages of Keth 7. The Vorrathi had 203 ships remaining. We had killed nearly 600 of their vessels. We had done it while dying from a plague that should have rendered us helpless. But 200 ships was still too many. We could not destroy them all before we ran out of time. I made a final decision. All ships converge on my position. We're going to hit them together. The remnants of the Fifth Fleet gathered. 27 ships, each of them damaged, each of them crewed by the dying. The Vorrathi saw us forming up. They began to pull back, trying to open distance. Too late. We charged. 27 ships at maximum acceleration. Reactors pushed beyond safety limits. Weapons firing until they melted. No concern for anything except reaching the enemy. We hit their formation like a spear. The next 30 minutes were a blur. Ships ramming. Reactors detonating. Boarding parties of dying humans fighting hand-to-hand with Vorrathi crews. I remember the Indomitable's final moments. Our reactor was critical. Our weapons were gone. Half my bridge crew was dead. I aimed us at the largest remaining Vorrathi battleship and gave the order to accelerate. All hands, brace for impact. It has been an honor. The collision was beautiful. 2 ships dying together. A monument of fire and metal. I survived the impact. Barely. I crawled to the communications console and recorded this message. Hour 6. There are no human ships remaining. The Fifth Fleet is destroyed, but the Vorrathi. Through the viewport of this shattered bridge, I can see their fleet. Debris. We destroyed them. All of them. 800 ships reduced to wreckage by 60 ships crewed by the dying. The mathematics seem impossible, but mathematics do not account for human fury, for the complete removal of self-preservation, for what happens when 30,000 people decide that if they must die, they will die killing. I am the last survivor of the Fifth Fleet. I have perhaps 10 minutes remaining before Keth 7 completes its work. I want to use those minutes to send a message. To humanity. Remember us. Remember what we did. We were given death, and we chose to share it. To the galaxy. Understand what you witnessed. The Vorrathi thought they had developed the perfect weapon against humanity. They were wrong. There is no perfect weapon against beings who will fight to the last breath, who will kill with their dying hands, who will turn their own deaths into weapons. To any species considering biological warfare against humanity, reconsider. The Vorrathi killed 30,000 humans with Keth 7. Those 30,000 humans killed 800 ships and approximately 160,000 Vorrathi. 5 to 1. That is the exchange rate when you poison humans and give us time to respond. Kill us fast, or do not kill us at all. Because if you give us time to fight, even hours, even minutes, we will use every second. The virus is taking me now. I can feel my heart stuttering. My vision is failing. But I am smiling. We won. Not survival. We never had a chance at survival. But victory? That we claimed. 800 ships for 60. 160,000 Vorrathi for 30,000 humans. We lost everything. But we made sure they lost more. This is Fleet Admiral James Okonkwo, Fifth Fleet, signing off. Tell my family I love them. Tell the galaxy what we did. And tell the Vorrathi. Tell them we'll see them in hell. Okonkwo out.